What if it's not fear of failure holding you back, but it's really these hidden beliefs about who you are, who God is, and what God is really asking you to do? Sometimes we're not waiting on God's next step, but our nervous system is waiting for that sense of safety and freedom to take the step that we already know we're meant to do. My name is Kirsten Larsen. I'm a wholeness transformation coach, and I also work in the field of building a business online. And what a beautiful journey that's been for me to step into the dreams and passions that God has put in my heart. And it's been a long journey, let me tell you. I've been doing a blend of ministry and business for about 20 years. And you discover a lot inside of you as you take steps of faith. And I want to talk about 3 hidden beliefs that I see very regularly, that I've personally experienced. And when you begin to create a new story around these beliefs and begin to heal them and walk through them, you get the beauty of stepping into all that God has called you to. And talk a little bit about why sometimes our mind and our nervous system can be the pieces that are resisting us from stepping into what we even know that God has called us into. So the first one that I want to look at is this idea that I hear sometimes, and not everywhere, but this idea that God hasn't shown me what to do yet. And it's stuck in this place of waiting on God to reveal an entire blueprint or all of the steps or maybe every part and piece that you're meant to do. And it could get stuck in this place of seeing some people who do get a full step-by-step process. Maybe some people do get a full outline. But for the most part, there's a beauty in taking steps of faith and actually walking with God in the journey. And yes, he does give blueprints. And yes, he does give steps. And yes, he has put it inside of you. But I want to come to this place of underneath the surface of that story or that belief is really this fear of missing it and missing out and even perfectionism and this pressure to get things right. That if God would show me every single step that I need to do, it's this feeling of then I know that it will succeed because he's given me everything that I need to do. And okay, that's really most often rooted deep in the nervous system and deep in an old story, very likely from childhood, school, family, different contexts and orientation, or maybe even places you felt like you have stepped out and failed. There's never a failure in the stepping out. But if we look at it just from a simple nervous system place, the brain and the body resist this sense of uncertainty. Right? We just have this craving to feel safe. And so what do we do with that? Well, sometimes we use this redirection and we put it onto God and we go, well, he hasn't shown me what to do yet. He hasn't given it to me. So I'm safe in this place of the known. I'm safe in this place where I don't have to worry about the unknown. I just want to speak to that place in that heart. I remember what that feels like. And I think since walking this journey with the Lord, I now really value the step of faith because it is in that I have seen God follow through over again. But when our body doesn't feel safe, when our brain doesn't feel safe, it kind of shoots off those alarm systems. And I think what I really want to get here is that in Genesis, reflected again in Hebrews 11:8 talks about Abraham, the father of the faith, who said, by faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out, not knowing where he was going. And we see that again in Proverbs 16, where it says, a man may make plans in his own heart, and yet God will direct his steps. Again, in Proverbs 3, lean not on your own understanding, but trust him, taking those steps as he gives them. And this is something that I have seen over again in my own life, in my walk with God, in my walk in business, in my walk by faith. And all these different places is if I recognize that it's actually my sense of safety that is blaming it on God not giving me all the steps, then what I can do is realign and restructure and begin to heal any place that I need healed on the inside. If I need to heal old wounds, old patterns, or even healing that sense of I'm not safe in the unknown in my body, in my brain, and allow that space of faith to begin to be built and to begin to say, God, I have one step. And I believe that wherever you are in your journey, you have one step because God has written your blueprint, your DNA. He has written your story in the core of you. It is in the rhythm of your heartbeat. It is in the dreams of your heart. And if you haven't been able to access those, there's often a lot of healing work that needs to take place. But I will tell you, his strategy is often revealed through the movement, through taking that movement, taking that first step in faith. He rewarded Abraham based on his faith. He rewarded David based on his faith. So many, it's the journey of faith, but it also is a journey of relationship. If you think about this, if God gives you an entire blueprint with a structured set of plans, which he does to people, I'm not denying that. I have had times where I've a whole step-by-step plan. It's actually overwhelming, and many times people can just take that and run with it, and it no longer requires that dynamic of relationship. And if Jesus is a relational God, if he desires, he went through all of that to give you relationship and desires your heart and relationship, he knows what is best for you to walk in that journey of relationship. And so how do we structure that new space, that new story, is this place of going, oh, I'm recognizing, I'm pausing moving forward because I'm putting that on God, not giving it to me. But in reality, it's this core sense of, I'm not sure I feel safe moving forward in the unknown. But can I begin to heal those places, step into receiving the Father's love, receiving the presence and the healing of Jesus, walking with the Holy Spirit, and then begin to structure that belief that his strategy is revealed through movement. So therefore, as I take one step forward, I'm going to allow my whole sense of safety to step into, he is with me. God is with me. He is taking each step. He is walking with me. And as you do that, as you take momentum, as you do step forward, he is going to meet you there. I guarantee it. I want you to just take one step forward and begin to see what happens in the beauty of what God does in that moment, right? He directed Abraham to a land he didn't know, and Abraham just went for it, right? And God always poured out and blessed him in every way as he went. And so the second one is one that I hear regularly, and I struggled with this a bit myself, and is I'm not qualified. And that is a belief. I've always loved that statement where people say God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And if you can follow that sentence, you see that in Gideon, you see that in Abraham again, you see that in David, you see that all throughout the Peter, from beginning to end. That is the story of God coming and saying, you might not necessarily have it all, but he chooses the weak things of the world to shame the strong. 1 Corinthians 1:27. That's pretty beautiful. But even beyond that, he's not choosing you because you're weak. It's more that he's adding a super pack to who you are. He's saying you are enough just in and of yourself, but I'm going to add my glory to you, and we're going to do something beautiful. So that space of I'm not qualified, that's often rooted in an old trauma just echoing in our system, maybe past authority figures in our world, maybe experiencing rejection and failure. I know for me, it was more places that I had taken steps of faith and felt like I had failed and in that journey. And so then I went on this kick of, I need to learn everything I can at all times, and I need to keep learning. And yeah, it made me equipped, but I learned in that process after reading probably 500 books and taking many, many courses and qualifications. I hit this point where I went, at the end of the day, I really just needed God in that space of me, not more information, not more education, not more qualifications. But I have so many qualifications and certifications at this point. And I feel kind of like Paul in Philippians, where it's just like, that's all just, I can throw that on the side. Paul said that's just dung compared to knowing Jesus and walking with him in that space. And ultimately, it was that space of healing that space when I failed, as opposed to gaining more qualifications. Okay. So in our nervous system, where that's stored is this place of, I don't know if it's safe to be seen. So I'm going to use this story that I'm not qualified to keep myself hidden. Because again, in our nervous system, it's always trying to find out, where do we feel safe? And when we can follow that pattern of, where is my nervous system trying to find safety? And what is it trying to avoid? Rather than listening to the story, let's get that root healed, because you're actually meant to be seen. You're meant to be heard, and you are meant to be out there making a difference. And God has something very beautiful for you. And at the end of the day, I began to realize that my qualification is just Him. And my qualification is that I'm faithful with taking the steps that He gives me. And so taking this old story and writing a new story into it is that if God has put it in my heart, then He has already equipped me, and He will equip me as I go. And maybe your equipment is the journey of life that you've walked on. You are one step ahead of the people that need to hear your story. And I just want to encourage you in that, is that He has put something in your heart, again, that you're created and made to share with the world. So if that belief of I'm not qualified is in there, I just want to encourage you that listen to what your body is saying about that. Listen to where that came from. Bring some integration of healing into that space, and begin to encourage your nervous system that He has given you all that you need to step into all that He's called you to. Okay. And number 3, I'm not ready. Ooh, anyone felt that way? I'm not ready. Wow. Sometimes going back to number 1 of God hasn't given me the strategy or the blueprint. And many of you may have even experienced this place of, oh, I have felt that prompt, or have received, someone has prayed that over me or spoken it over me, or I have felt this kind of sense inside of me that I'm meant to do this, but oh, I don't feel like I'm ready. And maybe that's why God hasn't given you more, is that place of not taking that step, right? But this belief of I'm not ready. I want to share this with you. You might not ever feel ready. That the things that God calls us into are usually a little bit outside of our comfort zone, so that we'll rely on Him. And when we rely on our own strength and we do the things that we're okay with doing, we don't really need His strength in that space. And that's one of the things that I love about this journey of faith, is I actually started to like stepping a little bit further than my comfort zone, because I always have to rely on His strength to be able to do that. And the beauty that has come from that is incredible. So it comes from this root of this illusion that readiness is actually a feeling. I'm going to linger on that for a moment, that I'm not ready usually is a story that says I don't feel ready, or I don't believe I'm ready. And that's really an illusion that you're supposed to feel something in order to be ready to do it. I have heard from many top level speakers and business leaders and ministry leaders, different people that almost never feel ready. And yet they are taking those steps and making those journeys, because they're saying that feeling is not really what I'm looking for. that readiness is something that is built again in the stepping towards something. And I heard this the other day, and I think it's really beautiful, is that anything we do is a muscle that we have to build, whether it is building emotional resilience things, whether it's learning a new skill, whether it's building a new muscle. Building readiness is like a muscle, and you often have to increase that resilience in your nervous system through taking one step at a time and beginning to integrate that sense of safety in the nervous system as you take steps forward. And you can do this by think about anything new that you've learned. Maybe in the last couple of years, anytime you learned something new, it required a beginner's mindset. It required this sense that I have to figure this out. I've got to learn it. And you did. You learned how to walk. You learned how to talk. You learned how to do something that you were not ready for. Now, one could argue that your brain and body were ready to learn how to walk in that kind of 0 to 2 stage, walk and talk, but you didn't know how. You didn't know what you were doing, but you were able to do it. And if you walk through your life and you look at any area where you learned something new, I want you to begin thinking about, what did that do for you? How did you learn it? How did you take that step? You didn't know everything right up front. And that is kind of the illusion of readiness, is that you should maybe know everything up front, or you should feel something in that space. But fear often masks itself in the sense of protection and safe control. And so sometimes what feels unsafe might just mean that it's new. And you want to, with that, when that's the case and when that's the story, it can take a moment to pause and breathe and ask, am I actually afraid of this? Or is it just new and I need to learn how to do it in the journey, in the process? And do I need to build that muscle? Remember, any muscle, if you do muscle building of any kind, it requires those little tears, and it builds back up together, little tears, and it creates a little soreness, and it builds back up again. And that's how that happens. And so you become ready as you move. You expand your nervous system, you build that capacity, you learn that new skill, and you experience that your nervous system is capable of adding new things in the journey. So if any of those three resonate with you, I want you to just experience the piece that there's a lot that has to do with movement, if you haven't noticed, that moving forward. And this is also a place in the nervous system. The ladder, the polyvagal ladder, is such that we go from ventral vagal in our face. That's our place of connection, feeling happy, feeling alive and safe in the world. And it comes into our sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight, flight, freeze, but also our state of being alert. And then it goes into dorsal vagal, and that's our lowest state where we start to feel shut down. And that's important because if you're feeling stuck, sometimes movement of any kind can help get us out of that dorsal vagal, out of that shut down space, and through the nervous system experience. And as we do it in partnership with faith and believing Jesus is with us in the journey, we begin to see that he is with us, and we begin to also restructure our nervous system in the journey. And so sometimes that sense of movement can be circular movements in your shoulders. It can be, I'm going to take some steps today. I'm going to move my body and help me take some steps physically so that it will help me take a step emotionally, mentally, or in action in whatever you're hoping to move forward with your calling, with your life, with your healing journey. And we have this beautiful God that catches us in the journey. His love is going to expand inside of you and not be withheld from you in the journey. So remember, healing happens through the movement process. Okay. And it's always a journey of partnership. It's always a journey of leaning in and listening to him. And so I want to take a pause and take a breath, listen in to your heart, to your body, your nervous system. Were there any of these hidden beliefs quietly leading your decisions, maybe even keeping you a little bit more hidden than you like? And I just want to encourage you to listen to your body. Is there any tightness in the chest, any hesitation, or even fatigue? Sometimes those nervous system cues might be masquerading as wisdom, and it might be a part of your nervous system, the way that God has created you. And it might be a space that it's trying to keep you safe. And you might be able to engage with that from an angle of saying, I don't need to be kept safe anymore. Thank you so much. I am safe in this journey. You can get some healing in the deeper places of any trauma or stress stuck in that space and begin to rewire your brain and nervous system so that you can take that step forward deep inside of you. I have many meditations that take you through that process, even teachings inside of my Wholeness Meditation app, and some of them even helping you step into your God-given calling, helping you to calm your body, release fear, and take some of those steps while hearing his voice more clearly. You can step into that app, and if you need deeper one-on-one coaching, I'd love to talk to you. Just sign up for a free consultation. You can do that in the links below and connected to this. And beyond that, I want to encourage you to begin listening to your body, listening to the story that's happening on the inside, and begin to just ask God, what's the step? What's the one step I can take today in this season? All right, guys, I bless you. Go ahead. If either of those resonated with you, check out the links